In a 2-year reign of terror 30 years ago, Williams was linked to the killing of more than 24 children abducted from the streets and murdered in Atlanta. The memories are still fresh for many Atlanta residents, especially those in the African American community whose children were being killed. Now, Williams is serving 2 life sentences. Jack Mallard was a lead prosecutor in the Williams case, a conviction he calls a high point of his 40-year career and which led to a book that he has written, The Atlanta Child Murders, The Night Stalker. Thanks for joining us tonight. There were 28 male victims that were on that list that were possibly linked to Williams, but he was only convicted for the 2 older ones, the adults. Why is that?
All right, we looked at each of the cases, and in doing so, we noticed that we had more evidence against those 2 that were charged, Cater and Payne. Mm-hmm. We had to look at it from a legal viewpoint. Would the conviction stand up on appeal? Because if we charged in, say, 10 or 15 or 20 even, and I believe a jury may have convicted on that many, still, if there's not enough evidence from a legal viewpoint, then the appellate courts will overturn it.
So you think a jury would have convicted on the 28, you said? You think they would have? Really?
No, not on 28.
Yeah.
I said as many as 15 or 20.
As many as 15 or 20. Right. So, but people want to know why were they weren't dropped.
No.
You said they just weren't brought to trial.
That's right.
And just because you didn't feel, you felt the evidence was stronger on the 2 adults.
Yes, a prosecutor has to look at it not only from a viewpoint of, well, let's solve the case, and I believe a jury will convict, so let's indict him and try it. We have to look at it down the road, 5 years, 10 years, when it's in the appellate courts. Will the evidence sustain that conviction from a legal viewpoint when it's in the appellate courts? And we felt like at that time there was not enough sufficient evidence to charge, convict, and keep the conviction down the line.
When you were watching that interview, did it seem like the same man, that you came across during questioning back in the 80s,
yes,
1982?
Yes, he hadn't changed. He hadn't changed.
Yeah.
He was on the stand 3 days, and he was a wily character, smart, articulate the first 2 days, and he controlled himself the 3rd day. He went into a tantrum.
That's what I want to go into that, because he talked about it. There was a part during cross-examination where he had an outburst, and you believe that was one of the things that convicted him, was this outburst. He talked about it in our interview, and I want to show you how he characterized it, and then we'll talk about it.
I was probably my own worst enemy. I was an arrogant, bus-headed idiot at the time, and I played right into these people's hands. I could see almost the shock in the jurors' faces if they said, "My God, is this the same Wayne that was up here yesterday?" I could see that.
How important was that moment in his conviction?
Everybody thinks that the Williams as a witness is what lost the case for him. The evidence is what lost the case for him. That was an important moment, however. The examination and how a defendant does on the stand is very important to a jury, because they've got to have enough evidence to convict him. But he helped convict him.
Looking back so many years and looking at that interview that Soledad did, what did you learn? Did you learn anything different, anything new?
Well, I learned at the end of the program, when Soledad confronted him, that he was speechless. And I learned that was in addition to everything else I'd ever known about Williams. That I didn't know.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting, and I was around living in Louisiana not far from here, and this terrified me, and it's Jack Mallard, and the book is called The Atlanta Child Murders, The Night Stalker. It's very interesting, so go out and get it, and thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it, okay?
Appreciate it.